Hello, hello.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
How's it
Welcome,
going?
Chris. So
Hello.
we called ourselves the Social Distancing Show
Yeah.
because they told us at one point we couldn't hang out with people.
When was that?
Long time ago. Long time ago.
Was it?
Yeah, but we
Hey.
couldn't have that here. So we were like, let's be social undistancing away from each other together in this box.
There we go. I like it. Yeah, how's it? Rubbing
Yeah.
shoulders with Sandy over there.
I know. Hold on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
way. There
yeah.
we go.
There you go. There you go.
We never even thought about that, actually.
What?
Rubbing shoulders.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Dang it.
I
Yeah, you're
know.
right.
Yeah, we'll have to do this. How do we do it? We do a high five.
Hold on.
Oh,
I'm
that
a
one
little
we do.
slow. Hold on. Hold
All right,
on.
ready?
Oh, wait.
You got two hands. You can give me.
You gotta turn your right hand. You gotta turn your right hand out. Turn it out. Turn it the other way. No, the other way.
These two, depending on the shoulders of science. Or something like that.
This is so much brain power. I'm not even kidding. It really is.
Okay, so turn your right hand out. Turn your pinky
Other
out.
hand. There you
Oh,
go.
There we go. Yeah.
I did.
High five.
So proud of myself.
Look, it's the small victories in life that help us keep going, okay?
Oh my goodness. Anita. Hello, everybody. She's watching us on YouTube.
I noticed
today.
that. Welcome to YouTube, Anita. You should
You wanted to
transition to
lie?
YouTube more than Facebook because
Well, she got hacked. She doesn't have a Facebook anymore.
Oh wow.
oh, Anita, I don't get on
Facebook
Facebook
jail.
often.
No, not Facebook jail. Like someone legit. She didn't even know how, when, or what. They stole her Facebook and started selling tickets. We had talked about her being hacked, and I was like, I didn't even know. I need to listen to country music. Why is she selling those tickets? And then I'm like, oh, she got hacked. I forgot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
know-
crazy.
Was it a good country artist?
I don't think so. I think he's kind of
Oh.
one of the most hated ones right now.
Oh wow.
I know. That's why I was like, really? Anita likes this? I didn't think she did.
Okay.
I don't like country either. So
Come on.
I love
You're from
country.
You're from Lubbock, Texas, man.
I know, but it's a little gross for me. Sorry.
Really?
But I do like oddly. So if there's Spanish speaking over it, I do.
That's-
Don't say
that's a good
Tejano.
word.
Do
I was
not
about
say
to say that.
Tejano.
I was about to say that.
That's gross. That's gross.
I imagine. So I know that there would be this divide between Sandy and I on that. I'll leave it be.
We
though,
just don't
because-
jam together unless it's
unless
how do
it's
you talk to
club
an angel?
music. Oh, that's right. That's right. Do you remember that song, Chris?
What's it called?
it's from the Heights. How do you talk to an angel?
I don't. Sing it for me, Sandy.
Oh,
We were talking earlier
I
about
thought
getting you
he
to
wanted
sing on the
me. I was
show.
like, okay, never mind.
Okay.
Sing it, Jamie.
All right.
Oh, he wanted you
All
to
right.
sing it. You sing
Come
it.
on, huh?
I can't.
Oh, it goes, how do you talk to an angel? It's like trying to catch a falling star. It's such a good song.
All right.
Chris
I'll
is
have
like
to look
never
it
even
up.
heard it.
Never heard it. I'm not.
It's
you know,
90s. It's 90s cheese, but it's so good.
Yeah. Do you remember Melrose Place?
Yeah, the show.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
was a spin-off of that show called The Heights.
Okay.
And they were a rock band. Or not a rock band. They were just a band, actually. Just a bunch of friends.
Grunge, who
Yeah.
knows?
I don't know that it made it past 3 episodes. But that
Okay.
song was freaking awesome.
And we were
Well-
like 12
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and
probably-
wanting to know how you talk to an angel.
I tried.
But it's
to.
almost too like listening to Boys to Men, I'll Make Love to You. I mean, I was built in that shit.
Like I knew what I was
Like,
talking
I
about.
knew. Like, close your eyes. I was closing my eyes. I wasn't throwing my clothes on the floor because my mama would have beat me. But
How about that song? Everybody that it came back here popular. I guess there was a show called Stranger Things, and there was that song from like the '80s, like "I'll be running up that road, I'll be running up that hill, I'll be running up that building." You don't remember
Oh.
that?
that
it
does
was-
not sound familiar to me.
So that's
Sandy
80s.
knows it. She just doesn't realize it yet because it's
Yeah.
been on every single TikTok ever, Sandy.
Really?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
talks about God. Something.
Yeah. If I
Joanna.
could make a deal with God, and then I forgot what it came after that. But that's
You totally
something
know
like
it,
that.
Sandy. It's been
Yeah.
on every TikTok and everything. You just
But 80s?
I didn't know it was 80s either. I thought it was like Lady Gaga, but no.
Yeah. She could probably redo it, make it hot.
I don't think she
Sure.
but I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the Babushka lady, right? That song, whatever. Anyway,
Anyway,
How did I
hi,
sound?
Chris.
How did I sound humming those bars? Did I sound okay?
I mean, I think that you probably
I
could
caught it.
hold your own at karaoke for sure.
Do you do
No.
karaoke, Chris?
You know, I do it, and then I get up there, and all of a sudden, like you get a little bit of that stage fright, and you're not hitting your notes. So,
Chris,
you know,
I don't think so. I just now met you and I haven't really talked to you a whole lot. I think we could party.
you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy about karaoke is that you think
People
you
who
know
don't sing shouldn't sing.
Yeah.
well, you know, you think you know the words to a song until all of a sudden, and then you think you know how a song flows until all of a sudden it's like going across, and you're looking and saying, "Oh man, like I need to be a little bit faster with this, or I need to hold this note a little bit longer." And you're like, "Man, I thought singing in the car I was doing pretty good," but all of a sudden you throw the karaoke lyrics up there, and you realize that there's some findings and there's some gaps. How about that?
Usually
Yeah.
more gaps. Usually.
And I realized that I don't know the lyrics to anything. We were talking about a song with Dr. Ben, and I think it was Whitesnake, Here I Go Again.
Here I go again on my own.
Going down the only road I've ever known, like a drifter, I would say like a twister. I was born to
It
walk.
works. It works.
But it's like he's like it's like a drifter. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So,
But you're from Texas. Like you're in Texas. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Twister totally makes sense.
Hi, John.
Mm.
Hey,
John.
Joanne. But
Yeah.
Hello.
So anyhow, we
What is good?
Chris,
Tell me
I get
something good.
my screen freezes sometimes. So you just
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I was like, what happened?
So Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. I'm coming to you from outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
A-Town.
it's what was so amazing about today. This week was supposed to be record temperatures, but somehow I guess the heat wave maybe took a left or took a right.
It's
And we
here.
had
Come get it. It's
yeah,
here.
it slowed down and got a cheeseburger in Texas, and so it hasn't hit us yet. And so it's been so nice out for July because they call it hot Atlanta, right? So
Yes.
this is a place where it's hot, it's humid. It's been nice, but I'm outside of Atlanta. Um, I'm sort of retired, but I'm not. It's interesting. I will talk about this more as the show goes on, and so I got a lot of time on my hands, which could lead to trouble for some people. But for me, I managed to stay out of trouble, keeping my head buried in studies and trying to learn. I've got a wonderful wife. I have been married, you guys. Ooh, I hope she's not watching. I've been married for 27 years. It'll be 27 years this October, I believe. So
Congrats. That's awesome.
happily
Chris,
married.
you look so young.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're shocking me.
I thought he
Thank
was like
you.
28 or something.
Yeah, so thank you for that. It's because the grays haven't come into my beard yet, and I do have some envy from some of my friends that just are pretty much chromed out.
Yeah.
And they're thinking that I'm doing the just for men thing where I'm trying to
The Grecian.
no play for Mr. Gray, but I'm fine with the gray. I already got my wife and I'm good to go, so I don't need to do that. But
that salt and pepper is all the rage.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
secure. I'm secure that you're salt and pepper when you're ready to do that.
So I got 3 kids. My oldest daughter, she's 24 years old. And my middle daughter is 20 years old. My son is 18. He just graduated from high school. So we are approaching that empty nest period where everybody will be out doing their thing. And Mama and I will just be cooking dinner for 2 and probably playing some pickleball. So, that's all the rage now. Everybody's playing pickleball.
Everybody loves pickleball.
Oh,
We did pickleball about 12 years ago up here. It kind of faded out now, though.
Wow.
It was all the rage here.
Really?
We are
12 years
catching
ago?
on afterwards.
Look at the North bringing in the trends.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. So and then I'm the proud papa of a Rottweiler named Boss, who is 7 years old.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a big teddy bear. He scares everybody when they're we'll put him out, and we have this invisible fence. So obviously there's no fence, and people can't they don't know what's going on. So he'll sit out there, and we live kind of on a hill. So there'll be people, we'll put him out in the morning, and he goes out there and he's just kind of chilling. And then there'll be somebody that goes jogging by, and I'll be back in my room because I just put him out there and go back to bed or go back to the room, and I hear him start barking. And it's not that he's just curious and he's barking. So I get up. A lot of times I rush to the door because I figured there's somebody out there. And I have seen people running up the street, all of a sudden see him and make a U-turn and start going back the other way a lot faster. And so I feel bad because, that's not the intent. So I have to sometimes yell at people and say, he can't leave the yard. And they're like, yeah, right. He can do whatever he wants to do. Invisible fence or not, he can do it. So yeah, proud of him. He's the one that, loves me probably the most of all of them.
He sure does.
If you have your pets, they love you, man. They'll love you till the end. So
mine like to bite me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just love bite. A little love. I'm sure you love nibbles. No?
Like
Jamie, what do you have?
I have two. My daughter has two ferrets that like to bite, and I have two snakes that are mine.
Yeah,
they don't do anything to the ladies.
Jamie's
in the
a
house,
reptilian.
but when it comes to me, they're like, "Ooh."
Do you ever do a show with the snakes like around your shoulders and just chilling? Why? I think that would
Why haven't
really
you done
the
that?
viewership.
I don't know. It just seems very because the little one, he could chill out for a little bit, but then I'd feel bad that he's just sitting here doing nothing. The other one, he would just be all over the place because he's always inquisitive. Like he likes to be, what's going on here? What's going on? He's like, he's got ADHD.
Yeah.
Yes, because he's like, he'll go one way and then you'd redirect him. He's like, oh, I'll go this way then. And here. And who's that? Oh, Sandy, let me see her. And
so he wouldn't just chill around your
No.
Okay.
He's
well, you need to get one of those.
Huh?
Yes, get a python that just chills and wraps and size you up at night.
They do not size up. They would love you forever. They'll squeeze you tighter than your tightest love. That's what they said on the Anaconda. Remember?
Yes.
They just squeeze you tighter than your truest love, something like that.
Do not let go.
Steve James would like
that back scratcher working for you?
So if you are a fan of the show, you know that we are notoriously popular and famous for having back scratchers on the show. We at one time, all three of us had it, and we would use it regularly.
I just stumbled on mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in one of my moving boxes, actually.
Nice. So, yeah, come on, but you got to be honest. Like a back scratcher is legit.
It's because once you start, and then you just kind of inch down, and then further
here,
and then and then it's like, and then you just can't satisfy the itch.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I'm like, oh.
You know what's great, like on the head? Have you guys ever seen those little prongs? Yes, the wires.
Oh, yeah.
The wires. Oh, especially
have
when
you used them?
Hair. Yeah, see, I used to have a fro, now I'm like this. I'm like, no hair. So
you got the opposite of a fro now. You got to know.
Yeah, when I had hair, those wires, and you put that thing on there and you just kind of doing a circle, it is golden. And most times things feel a lot better when somebody else does it.
Yes.
Somebody else gives you a massage, or somebody else rubs your head, or somebody else cuts the strawberries. They always taste better. But
when mom cuts the crust off the bread, that peanut butter and jelly sandwich jams a different way. It's like,
I'm telling you, though, you can do. That's one device that I found that you can do it yourself, and it feels just as good as if somebody else is doing it. So,
and you salivate when you're doing it. So weird.
I remember my wife, and whenever we first got together, and would scratch her head, and then I thought she was asleep, and then I'd stop, and then she'd be like, and I'd be like, what? And she'd be like, get back. It's like, I think it was more pleasurable for her than it was for me. But
right, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah, me acabó. I'm done. Tired. Let's stop. There's no joy for this for me. And anyhow, so okay. So real quick, what's your favorite flavor of cookie?
I'm gonna say oatmeal chocolate chip.
That's a first.
It's gotta be good. It can't be too much oatmeal. Can't be too much chocolate chip. It's got to be like a perfect balance. If not,
Costco has a really good one.
Really?
I like Costco's.
You can get hurt at Costco. You know what I mean? Like those muffins that they have, those are like
the muffins are good.
The Texas size muffins, and the thing about muffins, right? You can't like sit on them for a week or 2 weeks. Like they have to
No, you
get
got
eaten.
like a day, maybe 2 max, 3,
Yeah,
and you're
so
like,
so that means you're going to end up eating more muffins than you want to eat. That happened
oh,
to
and
me
you know
like
what I
2
like to
weeks
do? I
ago.
like to get that butter on there,
And then you'd be looking
melt
like
it
a
on
muffin.
there, and
Yeah,
yeah.
muffin
Well,
top.
I like oatmeal chocolate chip cookies too. They were my favorite. I like to get them without any oatmeal, and it's legit.
Oh, really? So then
Yeah.
that's kind of more like just a chocolate chip cookie, right?
Some people have heard call
like
it that.
You were cringe.
It's
You were
like
cringe.
it's like a cheeseburger without the cheese.
It's like,
Who even likes a cheeseburger without cheese?
I don't like cheeseburgers as much as hamburgers, but if I have to have cheese, so it's either blue cheese if it's a grilled burger or it's Swiss cheese. But I'll never swap the cheese on my burgers because I'm like, I ask you too much already. Just give it me the burger. Yeah. I really do ask a lot when I go to the restaurants.
We were just at a hibachi grill and the people asked for too much, and that cook was not happening.
Happy? No.
Well,
I made stir fry tonight.
Did you? Well, the hibachi, the people were just like, well, we want less salt and less this and less that on their rice. Yeah. And so anyway, so he did kind of separate theirs out before he, soy sauced us to death. Anyway, I think just kind of out of spite or just kind of how he cleans it up and he gives you the extra whatever.
Yeah.
Well, he laid some of the regular one on the lady's plate.
Good for her.
I was like, good for you, sir.
It's like those guilty pleasures that you get from telling people certain things that, like when you're like, no, but you're like, no, you can't have that. And you're like, I'm so sorry. But inside you're like, suck it.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have that.
They tell me, when I ask for like, hey, I don't want the teriyaki or, this or they'll make yours in the back. It's like, you don't get the show. They're gonna make yours back there. You're right. I don't have time for all this. My guy says so.
That's what I wanted to tell those people. Just go sit in the regular tables.
Yeah.
But you know what I wish they would do at hibachi? I wish they would take a poll. Like, have anybody not ever been to a hibachi restaurant? That way, I feel like so bad for them having to perform that onion time after time after time. And nobody's even watching. No one's paying attention. I'm just like, just get on with it, sir. You don't have to do all that for us.
Sandy on that. I do feel you on that one. Yeah. I wish there was like some secret way we could tell them, like we had a dot on the table, right? Like if we had a green plate or a yellow plate or something like that, they knew these were the people first time or not. So then they could really play up the show for those first timers. But then for those of us, it's like, just cook it. I actually just enjoy you cooking there in front of me.
Yeah. It's a show in itself.
Yeah. Like I don't have to cook. Like that's a first. This is what it looks like. Now I get why my family loves to eat when I cook.
Exactly. But
I know this is mean, but it's always kind of funny when little kids, for the first time, when they light that and the flame goes, and they're not really ready for it.
Yes.
It startles them.
We have a video of my niece doing that. She's like,
yeah. That's what you get for being bad earlier in the day.
So our funniest hibachi experience, oh my gosh. I think this guy was like on his last day. He was 100 years old and he was doing the hibachi thing. And so he's like asking people if they want the rice launched at him. And everybody's like, no, thank you. And there's some that are saying yes. Well, the lady there's just a single mom with her little 8-month-old baby. And he was like, baby. And she's like, no, thank you. And he launched it and they hit the little baby in the forehead. And he's like, baby. He's just having a great old time. And we are laughing our butts off because this man is making the biggest mess with the rice. He's hitting that baby upside the head with the rice.
That's what I'm talking about. That was his guilty, whatever. He could get away with it.
Yeah, he could. And that little baby was just kind of startled with that. I think he pegged him twice with that. But anyway, it was freaking hilarious.
It was the jam.
Best show ever.
I got you. I feel you.
But anyway, okay. I don't know how we got on hibachi. Probably me.
When you watch the replay, you'll be like, "Oh, it was me."
That's how.
But no worries. So, Chris, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about why we invited you on the show tonight?
I'm still trying to figure that out, man.
Oh, it's because you're good looking, man. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, so I think I mean, Jaime and I have connected, and we've just kind of, I think we have some similarities in terms of the way that we look at life and we look at people. But I think, as you guys, bring different people on different walks of life, for me, the background that I have, it's probably some several things we can have conversations about and talk about some experiences and stories. So I was a Major League Baseball player for 11 years. I was an announcer for ESPN for 14 years. I did television, radio. Um, I've been like in baseball, basically professional baseball for like the last 27, 28 years of my life. I know you guys don't think I'm that old, but yeah, so that's it. And just a lot of cool experiences that I've had along the way. And, I'm really no different than anybody else. I was raised by a single mom in California, Northern California. We didn't have a whole lot growing up. Managed to do well in sports in high school, got a college scholarship to the University of Nevada. So I'm wearing my hat, my shirt.
Nice.
Went to Nevada, Reno to play football. And I was drafted out of high school by the Houston Astros, but I really wasn't interested at that time of going to play baseball. I just wanted to go play college football. So I had some buddies they're going to play football there and go to school as well. So I decided to go there. And after a couple of years of playing football and I was doing well in football, I was like, man, I wonder if I'm good enough to play baseball in college, just kind of take a shot in the dark. And so I went out and played baseball, did pretty well, and then followed up the next year and did well again. And then I got drafted by the San Francisco Giants in the second round. So at that point, it was like, see ya, taking the money and going. I was 21 years old in 1993 and got a couple $100,000, and I was like, I'm out of here. And we'll see what happens. And so things turned out pretty good.
Wow.
That's so awesome. So you drafted by the Astros and you were like, no, football is my thing.
Yeah, because at that time, I hadn't really played a whole lot of baseball, and I just didn't see myself going down to Florida and spending the summer and playing baseball every day. It was just like, it just didn't seem to fit. I was so grateful that I was drafted and that I had enough ability to be recognized by a professional team, but at that time, it was just my heart was like, I want to go play college football. I want to play on television. I want to make my mom proud, all of those things. And so, that's the way that things went. But I will say this, as a kid, I was a little leaguer, and I don't know, there's probably, I don't know if you guys play baseball or softball or like anybody listening, maybe played baseball, but I tell you what, I still remember like yesterday, my first time ever playing Little League Baseball, the morning of opening day, the parade that started at the high school, all the different cars and trucks. And I'm dating myself now because my coach had an El Camino, which you probably don't know what an El Camino was.
We know what an El Camino is.
They were like the most popular vehicles ever. So we're all in the back in the parade going down the road. And so baseball was my first love as a kid. It was just, what I loved doing. And kind of got away from it in high school, played football. And then when I got back in college, after playing a couple of seasons of football and I was out playing baseball, all of a sudden I started to feel like a kid again. And I was like, man, I love being at the ballpark. I love baseball. And, I think I want to play baseball. And just went about, things and, tried to put myself in the best position. My faith as well. I believe that God was with me in it and he was kind of changing course for me and putting that desire in my heart, and decided to go. It wasn't a hard decision because when you play college football on a Saturday, and I was a wide receiver, so I would take some hits, but like on a Saturday after your game, you go home and you just sit on the couch and you're just kind of numb because of physically what you've just expended energy wise, but then also hits that you've taken. Like you took hits in the game that you don't even realize until later on when you feel like, oh man, I got a bruise here, or I'm kind of sore here. Or I'm like, and so when it came to baseball, like I played a baseball game. We played 3 games over the course of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, we played games Friday night, Saturday. It's like, hey, what are we going to do Saturday night? Let's go hang out. That was never the case with football. So it was kind of an easy decision when I got drafted in baseball and say, wait a minute, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to feel like physically good after playing games as opposed to getting, your head knocked off at times in football and, being on the field and there's no guarantees. And so it was like, yeah, I got enough here to start my life and go forward. And then went through the minor leagues and had all kinds of, you've seen some of the movies of, guys going through the minor leagues like Major League or, just Field of Dreams, whatever, stuff like that, Bull Durham. And it was some of the best times of my life. Everybody wants to get, you want to get to your destination, right? I want to get to this place in my life and my career. I want to be making this kind of money, whatever it is. But I'm telling you, don't ignore the journey because it's about the journey. Like, and to getting to where you want to get to. Don't forget to stop and just look around and appreciate and have gratitude for even some of the things that aren't so great. For that 13-hour bus ride from Shreveport, Louisiana to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it's rough, right? And in the hotel you stay at may not be that great. But those were the times when I look back and, man, the bonds that I made with teammates, and we didn't have a whole lot, and how we, depended on each other. When I got to the major leagues, and everybody's making money, everybody had their own stuff, they had their own people. I got my people, I got my financial people, I got my agent, I got my whatever, got my, marketing people. And so, after a game, you got 25 guys that may go 25 different directions. Whereas in the minor leagues, you got to stick together. You got to pull your resources. And so I'm grateful for, as much as I wanted to get to the major leagues, going through the minor leagues, I'm grateful for the time that I spent there, because those are actually some of the better relationships that I have, guys that I played in the minor leagues with, as opposed to some of the guys I played in the major leagues with.
Yeah. And going back, Chris, to what you said you wanted to make your mom proud. Personally, as the mom, if you were to say, Mom, I can go play football or I can go play baseball. I love football. I love college football. I would have been like, get your butt to baseball right now. You are going to get way too beat up in football for that. So did your mom feel the same way about it?
Yeah, she was just, my mom, she was just proud of me. She was proud that I went to college. It was a really cool thing. There's a coach that I had, and none of us can ever say that we got to where we are in life by ourselves. We've got some people that are like, oh yeah, man, nobody believed in me, this and another, and they have this chip on their shoulders that they did everything on their own, and that's never the case. There's always somebody there that's either helping you and showing you what you want to be. And sometimes there are people that are showing you what you don't want to be. Because you have to just you have to look and see, hey, there are teachers that are all around me and there are people that are encouraging. And so when I was a freshman in high school, I didn't play football. I just played basketball and baseball. And I had one of the coaches come up to me in the locker room one day and say, hey, why aren't you playing football? And I said, well, I like basketball and baseball. He said, and he kind of knew my family. He said, your mom can't afford to send you to college. You need to play football because you'll get a football scholarship and that'll pay for your college. And so he was the one that shifted my mind to say, okay, I'm going to play football next year. And then played football. And the biggest thing for us that was going to be a success for me and my family and that would make my mom proud is if I went to college, period. And then let alone I go to college for free. And then, and then I'm playing football as well, in front of a pretty good audience. So, yeah, she was just proud. That in and of itself was like plenty for her. And then, when I got drafted in baseball, I remember the day we had the press conference there in Reno, Nevada, and she still, I can remember her face. She couldn't, really believe it. I don't think she really understood what was going on. The amount of money that my contract was for was something that she never imagined that she would probably see. And for her kid to sign for that, it was just, but that was my thing, not having a dad in my life as a kid, not having someone to provide, and my mom having to take care of 3 kids. It was, my goal was always that, hey, I want to take care of mom. I want to take care of mom. She's worked so hard for me. I want to be able to take care of her. I want to be able to do something for her. And so by the grace of God, and I was able to be successful enough in my career that I could, take care of her, buy her a home, subsidize
Oh, I love
her
it.
Stop.
income,
It's gonna
and yeah.
keep going.
So
Actually, don't stop. I'm just.
yeah, no. So I'm really grateful for what she taught me. She was a hard worker, and she worked a blue collar job. She didn't have this cushy, nice. My mom didn't go to work dressed up, smelling good, and coming home,
Mm.
looking good and smelling good. She went to work almost dressed like a man, because she worked at an oil refinery, and so
Oh, wow.
there were many times that she pulled double shifts just to try to keep all the bills paid and everything else. And she'd have migraine headaches, and there'd be times I'd have to go pick her up to work and drive her home and take her by the hospital to get a shot for her migraine headache, and then bring her home. She'd sleep all night, get up and go to work the next day. So that's
Wow.
where I got my work ethic and my kind of my attitude from, was that there are just no excuses. My mom never made an excuse ever.
Mhm.
And so I kind of adopted that mentality that no matter what, like, no excuses. You go out there, you work hard, you play through pain, you do what you got to do, because you have to make it happen. And if you don't, then the lights might get turned off, or the heat may be turned off, or whatever it was.
Wow, that's so awesome.
I'm so glad to hear that story, right? Because there's sometimes when I think, man, is this going to be a guy who comes on and says, yeah, my mom was that hard worker and stuff, and I thought, man, she needs to keep working. I'm just going to leave her there. I'm not going to take care of her. She wouldn't want me to do that. So I'm glad that wasn't you, Chris. Okay. I'm glad you took care of mom.
So just now
Yeah.
that when you said Nevada, so I think I'm trying to look back. Is it Nevada? Is it the Wolfpack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
one of my friends, her son is playing football out there.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
really?
I was like, I know
Nice.
that sounds familiar. Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to look him
How long
up.
has he been there?
This will be his second year.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, and
Go
his
Pat.
I know it's so crazy that that you said that. I'm trying to think because she's got two boys and now I'm getting them confused. Which one? Oh, it's KK. KK Meyer. Meier. But yeah, he's
Okay.
out there. So that's pretty cool.
I'll look him up. Yeah, good school. It's
Yeah.
funny because everyone thinks, especially back then, growing up in California, even though Nevada was just 3 hours away from where I grew up, that's
Mhm.
where you go to play the slot machines, and go to the
Yeah.
go to the casinos, and go to the buffets and everything like that. And believe it or not, the UNR campus is basically right across the highway from downtown Reno, where all the casinos are: Circus, Harrah's, Peppermill, all that kind of stuff. And so, you're thinking, man, are you going to go to college and become like this gambling addict because
Yeah.
you've got slot machines and you got all this kind of stuff around you, but you really just, other than the like 2 a.m. buffets that are available, like, you really don't engage in the gambling aspect of it. It's
Yeah.
just that it's like, the cool thing about it, especially as a college student, is that you can eat for cheap, and you can eat a lot of food because they have these great buffets that it's like, that's the hook for people. Like, come here, stay here. You have great food. It doesn't cost much. We want you to gamble.
Yeah, and being an athlete too, I'm sure the buffets were the nice touch. Like, if I'm gonna eat,
What was the price of a buffet back in the day, Chris?
Oh my goodness. Well, then you're going to everybody's going to know how old I am if I say this, but I mean, you're talking like $7.99, like for like a legit buffet, like not
for the
like
lobster, the steak, and everything.
shrimp. I mean, just, you're talking like $7.99, maybe $8.99 back then. It's just,
Wow.
it was crazy.
Because those prices are unheard of now.
Yeah, I remember going. I'm married 18 years now, so 18 years ago, because we went to Vegas for our honeymoon. And I remember, and it's funny when you say that, because I'm thinking, man, $27-$28 that I paid for mine was actually pretty good. But
I think now they're like 60.
Yeah.
The brunches are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to.
I mean, unless they have bottomless mimosas, worth it.
Holla.
Yeah. There we go.
So okay. So then, all right, you've taken us through your high school, your college, and then even some of your professional, right?
Your honor.
And minor, yep. And so then I saw your LinkedIn, right? So if any of you are friends with Chris on LinkedIn, you can see his work history, right? And you can track some of the stuff he's saying. But at some point after that, during that,
Let me go on here and look real quick.
Yeah. I see that you went into, and you said it earlier, right? You went to one of the major networks, television networks, and you started doing some work for them, right?
Right. Yeah, it was so what was interesting was that, as a player, I would do, interviews, pregame or postgame, or sometimes if they were doing a feature, they might ask if
Like you'd be interviewed.
I would be interviewed. And so it was always kind of being spoken over my life. Hey, this guy, when he's done playing, he's going to be a broadcaster. He's going to be a broadcaster. He's good at, doing interviews, and it works well with people in that way. So I was kind of being set up for it. And when I finally decided to hang it up, I got a call from the Chicago White Sox to see if I was interested in coming to do radio for them. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this. I just got out of baseball. I kind of just want to stay at home and just chill out and be around with the family. It's, be right back on the same schedule I was on. But I decided, I said, I'm just going to give it a shot. And if I don't like it, then I won't do it after a year or so. And I did it, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And, I was a color analyst for the Chicago White Sox on radio, and then I would do like an inning or two of play-by-play, which was extremely difficult because that's the play-by-play person. I didn't even know what a play-by-play person was when I was, so color analyst is the one who breaks down the plays. Here's what's happened. This guy already just got a base hit to left center field. Really great job of pulling his hands tight to his body to get to that pitch on the inside part of the plate. Right, you're talking about the situation where the game is. The play-by-play announcer is like, okay, here's John Smith, walking to the plate, he's hitting 235, he's 7 for his last 12, blah blah blah. You're getting all the stuff. You're doing all the color. It's like kind of being the host of a show. That's what you're doing. So you have to be able to really flow and talk and sort of make things up that are going to be of interest, and describe the action once the ball is hit into play. Here's the pitch. 2-2, hit on the ground to short, up with it to second, then to first, 6-4-3 inning double play.
Dude, he sounds so legit right now.
I know. I'm
like, sorry. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, and then they give you a card. Then somebody's handing you a card. You got to read a card before you go to break. We'll be back after this. Boom. So it's like stuff's happening fast. And so for me, I was just trying to learn how to be a color analyst. And then when they threw in there, hey, we're going to try to teach you to do play-by-play as well, I would have a knot in my stomach for the first 3 or 4 innings of the ball game because I knew that the 5th inning I had to do play-by-play. And it was brutal. It was really, really bad. I thought it was bad. The fans thought it was bad. They were sending emails to the owner like, what are you doing? This isn't even fair to this kid. He's so bad. And so the team was like, we're going to hire a coach to work with him, and we're going to make sure that he gets better. We're not going to back away. We're not going to let the pressure from the outside. And so they hired a coach, and he helped me tremendously and is still a friend to this day in my life. In fact, I made him become my agent a few years later.
Oh, I love it.
Work with me. So just a great story that, there's not enough time for that. But, that's how it got started for me. And then, after 2 years in Chicago, I really wanted to get my kids back home because we were homeschooling at the time, which was awesome. Really great bonds that I built with my daughter. But I also kind of wanted them to be back home, get into regular school, be around family. And so the only way for me to do that and stay in broadcasting would be to go to work for a major network. And so some doors opened up, and I got an opportunity to go to ESPN. I went to ESPN, and I did television for 4 or 5 years, just television for 4 or 5 years. A show called Baseball Tonight at ESPN. And then we would, when you're there, you also do other shows. I may go on ESPN News or do a hit on Sports Center. They use you in all kinds of different ways. They get everything out of you. They're paying you for the day. So it's like, we're going to get as much as we can out of each person. So that's where it started. And, as far as the television side, and just a really amazing opportunity, it's different for an athlete. You kind of fall into these things, but working at ESPN for the non-athlete is like the creme de la creme. It's the dream job that a lot of these people, they grow up with. Like, hey, I want to go work for ESPN one day.
Mhm.
And so, you get to be around people that like live their entire younger life to try, like getting to ESPN for them was like me getting to the major leagues, on the field. It's
Mhm.
like that was their dream job. My dream job was playing. And so, try to take advantage as much as I could because there's so many things you could learn just being on campus there. Sometimes I would go and walk into one of the production rooms where they're producing a live show and just see how everything operates and works. And, there's just a lot. So it was a great, great opportunity. I was there for 14 years
Oh, wow.
up until
Wow.
last year. Yeah. And so
And you were broadcasting the whole time,
yeah.
being in the front or in the panel, I guess.
Yeah, so there were times I was doing that, and then I took on the radio job. I was the lead analyst for ESPN Radio Baseball. So what was cool is that I called probably 9 All-Star games, probably 3 World Series. Did all the playoffs and did the World Series, and so I got to call some really great, um, great games over my tenure there, and just had some great relationships. I got to work with some of the most wonderful people ever, and that's what it comes back to. It's always about the people. It's
Yeah.
not about like it's really not about like the thing that you do. It's really the people that you do it with. That's what makes it special. That's where, as a team, when you pull off a good show or you pull off, a good broadcast or whatever it is, or maybe there are things that are happening behind the scenes that the listener can't tell is going on. And
Yeah.
you guys overcome some technical challenges to be
Mhm.
able to pull it off, and they don't even know. That's when you're high-fiving each other after the game, saying, "Whoo, we made it through that." And that's what's awesome is that I got to work with some wonderful people.
I
Um,
totally hear everything you're saying because I gotta imagine that's what it's like for you sometimes, Sandy. After every episode we do.
no, it never felt like that, but thank you. So Janae said, "I had no clue he was a celebrity status. His heart is gold." Oh, that's sweet. That
Yeah,
is
I'll
so
admit
sweet.
I didn't either, but I just remembered hearing we hadn't gotten there yet. There's more to his story, but I heard that part and I was like, oh, we should bring him on because I'm so interested in that piece, which we'll get to in a little bit.
I kind of want to go back to something though before
Sure,
we
sure,
move
sure.
forward. Chris, you mentioned that you doing the play-by-play. So to me, when you're doing the play-by-play and you're on the radio, like, are you explaining it to someone that, like, did you have to get like into someone's like headspace? Like, they're not watching this, so I have to do the best of my ability to describe
Sandy.
everything.
That is awesome. That is an incredible observation because it's so on point. One of the things that they told us is that when you are broadcasting and you are, whether you're doing the color analyst or the play by play, is that you have to imagine that there is a blind individual
Yeah.
that is listening to the game, and you have to make it as vivid as possible so that they can see what's going on. And so that was an awesome challenge to think that, hey, it's not just people out there that are maybe watching the game on TV and listening to us in radio, or they're actually at the ballpark and they're listening to us while they're watching the game. There could be an individual that has, a condition where, they can't see, they can't watch it on television.
Mhm.
And you are now the eyes and ears for that person in the way that you describe it. So the better that you can color it and make that person feel like they're actually there. That's one of the things that I would take away as feeling like good about my job is that, if I feel like, man, I really did a good job tonight in describing what was happening, because
Yeah.
sometimes you can take things for granted because you can see it and you just think, oh, but you don't describe, hey, he's bent over at the waist as he takes the sign from the catcher. Wind is rippling his pants and you can see, his right pant leg rippling in the wind, like things like that, where it's like, oh man, that person's seeing, it's like
Yeah.
they're there. It's like they're there seeing the game. And so
Yeah.
there's some really good play-by-play announcers out there. that just paint the picture so nicely that it's enjoyable just to sit and listen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So I just
yeah,
because I never think of that. I don't put myself in other because I can see, obviously. So I don't ever think about how that part of it maybe it's not for me, but it's for somebody else. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like hearing
yeah.
that. And if you need practice, turn the subtitles on and watch how they describe some of those stuff. Because there's two versions of those subtitles. There's just whatever they say, but then there's the ones where it's like what they say, and then like what you said, there's rustling in the wind and the leaves are scattering,
There's
or
like a
house music is playing.
yes, yeah, certain
Yeah.
music is playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love that, man. It's
yeah.
so encouraging to hear, like, yeah, kind of like you, Sandy, like hearing it in any of the forms, but to hear like that they get told specifically to do it with the intention of people who can't see it, and so really, not fabricate it, but really produce it in that
No, yeah,
grandiose
totally.
way. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
And
It's so
I think
encouraging.
when it's done like really well, it's an art form that
Yes.
I
because
agree.
you also have time constraints. You don't just have this open window where you can talk because you have to get what you have to say. You have to get that in between pitches because the most
Mhm.
important thing for anyone to know is the action. What's happening? Here comes the pitch. Here's a swing. Deep drive to left center field. On his horse, back to the warning track, looks up. This one is gone. Like something like that. That's what they have to. That's what they want to hear. So all of the other stuff that you are sort of complimenting, the game action with, it has to get in and out so that they don't miss the real time action because you don't want because the microphones are in the ballpark, so you don't want the crowd to start cheering and you haven't
Yes.
described the action because
You're not there yet.
the person's sitting there and they're like, "What's going on?" They're
Yeah.
like frustrated. What's going on? This guy won't stop talking, and everybody's cheering, and I can't, and it's
So that's
only
got to
like,
be like interesting. So you're explaining something, and then something because you don't want dead air, right? Like I'm assuming that's the enemy of radio is dead air, right? When you're supposed to, when you're
too
on,
long.
yeah. And
There's
then
times where you want to let it breathe.
like
So
that.
you don't want to talk all the time because there are ambient sounds from the ballpark that people can kind of take in over the radio. So you do want to let the broadcast breathe some, but you don't want extended periods of like dead air.
Right. And then I imagine there's that exciting moment that occurs, and you just like I see it in my head, right? Like when you're saying in the movies and stuff, like when the announcers get all super excited and they're like, he said it, oh my God, he just, and then the wild cheering and everyone like, man, yeah, that just sounds fun.
Yeah.
I got myself hyped up.
I know. I'm like ready to go to a baseball game.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? For whatever reason, I'm remembering Harry Carey, this guy who used to be up here.
Oh yeah.
Harry Carey. And that's near Chicago. So
legendary.
Yeah. So
yeah.
All right. You do the announcing for ESPN for quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at some point in there, you transition. I won't say like fully transition because it looks like there was a little overlap there, right? But you got into another big deal after that, right? During that.
Yeah. After some very difficult times in my life, because having been in baseball for the number of years that I was in baseball, it was like riding a bike, the routine, very comfortable. And so it got to a point where things were changing on the network level. ESPN's coverage of baseball was diminishing. My contract was up. I could see the handwriting on the wall. And I also was looking for kind of a change. And so my contract expired. They didn't renew my contract. And, here I was. This happened last year, April of last year. And to be honest, the last year of my life has been, in some ways, the toughest year that I've ever had. Challenging and it's not, I'm thankful that, things are great in my life. We've got a wonderful wife, kids, wonderful relationships. But when you go through a period of having done something for so long and really knowing your identity and your purpose, and now all of a sudden you're looking around and you're saying, what do I do with myself? Who am I? what am I supposed to be doing? Where do I put my energy into? You talk about anxiety, you talk about depression, you talk about real, mental health things that you never thought you would ever have to like
It's like
encounter.
a grieving process, Chris. I
Oh,
mean,
so many different things. And so, when you're talking about, and I'm being transparent with this because I
Yeah, thank you.
know
Yeah.
there are a lot of people out there that have different mental health issues, or they're going through different things, or they've had traumatic experiences, and they're walking with a limp in life emotionally and or spiritually or whatever. And so, I want to use my platform as well to let people know that it's okay, because when you suffer in silence and when you are battling dark thoughts and different things that are going on, and you think that you are an alien, like you're the only one that goes through that, then it makes it worse because you can't talk to anyone. You feel like no one understands. People will look at me differently, and I found that there are more people that have struggles that just are hiding it, or they're just stuffing it, or they're just suffering in shame, or in silence. And so for me, having gone through what I went through even motivated me more as I was going through my process to become a certified mental health coach. It's
oh
because
wow.
I understand what it's like to deal with anxiety and to be uneasy and unnerved. And then when you can't seem to quench the anxiety, then there can be a component of depression that starts to come in. And then now all of a sudden you just have this two-headed monster that can really seek to destroy your life. There were times in my life last year where I didn't want to get out of the bed. Like it was an effort for me to get out of the bed. To take a shower felt like a huge accomplishment because I was dealing with so much darkness, if you will,
Yeah.
dealing with the anxiety, dealing with the depression. And you realize how vulnerable that you are, when you go through something where you're like, hey, if I get a cut, it heals. If I pull a muscle, I know what to do to get that. But I'm dealing now with something that I don't know how to fix me, and people that I'm talking to don't automatically have the answer to fix you. They might be able to encourage you or be there for you, support you, but there were times where it was really, really difficult. I mean, extremely difficult. So I have a compassion and empathy for my brothers and sisters out there that are experiencing. And so I took it upon myself. There were times where I didn't even feel great, but I was still plugging through and working through my certification to get this so that I could be in a position and better equipped to help someone else. And so currently I'm on the Major League Baseball Players Association. I'm a consultant for the MLBPA, and I'm on a committee as we're developing a mental health committee to better serve our players. I also do some work with some Christian organizations to do mental health coaching. In fact, I'll be going this weekend to a facility to work all day on Saturday. But didn't necessarily mean to segue this in this direction, guys.
No,
If
it's
it's going to
perfect.
happen.
No, it's perfect.
But I think that's an important thing, and hopefully, anyone that's listening, or maybe that may see this later, that they can know that they're not alone, and that there is help, and there is a tomorrow. Your future is bright, even though it may seem really dark right now.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for bringing that to light, because the thing about it is for me, I'm a naturally happy-go-lucky person. And like you, last year was one of those where I hit a patch in my health where I've never had any health issues, and all of a sudden I'm battling some health issues where I feel like hopeless, that has said, I let that creep in. And then of course with that comes its friend depression, it comes its friend, anxiety, and it's an absolute awful feeling. I had never wanted to understand that on my own, because I've had other people that like I didn't understand what that was, because like I said, I'm naturally happy, you know. And so yeah, I mean, it's so much. We need to be mental health aware, because my parents are old school. Like, we're just going to swallow that. We're just going to drink that away and we're going to be fine, you know. But I mean, you know, in your situation, you know, you were grieving and went through that. So do you think, did you go to therapy for that? Or is that something that you just started? Like, what was your process? Was like, you know, God your focus, or your family your focus, or what was your
Yeah,
way out?
I was reaching for anything and everything that I could. You know, I wasn't trying to cope by way of, you know, alcohol or drugs or anything like that, but I was reaching for my faith. I was reaching for therapy. I was reaching for my wife. You know, I mean, I was like, carry me, please. You know, if you can do something to carry me, help me. There'd be times I would just sit on my back deck and I would just sit out there and I would just stare, you know, off into the woods and be bleeding on the inside, just bleeding on the inside, to the point to whereas the, you know, for people that experience anxiety or depression to a degree to where it's really painful and you're at a low, I didn't want to take my life, but I didn't want to be in the pain. And I think there are a lot of people that they're in so much pain that unless they get the help, they're going to end up taking their lives. And you know, the suicide rate has only increased. The mental health epidemic that we're seeing, I mean, it's, you know, we had COVID, the pandemic, but man, mental health has become, you know, sort of another like major issue and problem. And so you know, just it's wanting to end the pain. There's you know, and some people go to medicine. You know, medication can be helpful. It can, you know, you have to, but even with that, you still have to do the work that you need to do, and you have to find, you know, a good therapist, a good coach, and then you have to apply those principles. One of the things that I found that helped me a lot was something called CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's essentially taking the thought, because the thought, you know, you have a thought, it becomes emotion, a feeling, and then it leads to an action. So it's getting back and saying, okay, wait a minute, let me stop this where the thought is, and let me, you know, let me examine this and say, what is this thought and why is this valid? Is this true? Am I, you know, worthless? Am I not good enough? Am I not smart enough? Am I, whatever it is that really true? Because if it goes unchecked, it's like, you know, Jaime and I were doing this PCI DSS stuff. And if something can get through the firewall and it's unchecked because let's just say there's a port that's open, then it can get into the internal network and it can, you know, compromise the CDE, the cardholder data environment. And I kind of look at that cardholder data environment as our hearts, you know, and the Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for out of it spring the issues of life. And so we have to arrest those thoughts before they become emotions and we start to feel a certain way. And then once we start to feel a certain way, then we start to act out in that way, where you're withdrawn. You don't want to, you're normally very bright and bubbly, but you don't really want to be around people. You know, you find yourself socially withdrawing. The things that used to give you pleasure don't really excite you like they used to. And so, and it just becomes a downward spiral. And if you don't find a way, you have to fight at times, like with everything that you have, to get out of that spiral and believe that if I take a step in the right direction, that things are going to start to change.
I like CBT is really cool. A lot of the science behind it, actually. And Sandy knows how much I like not just science, but a lot of the stuff that deals with mental health and
You're
stuff.
speaking his language.
So in CBT, the scientific practice of it is it helps you rewrite neural pathways. So when we experience trauma and certain impacting things like that, our brain, all that scenario that Chris just talked about, your brain actually imagine like a road being created. Your brain creates a road for that, so that every time you experience a similar or the exact same emotion, it takes the path that your brain created to get there. So whether it's an unhealthy path or healthy, it uses that. So CBT goes back and actually tries to redraw that or remake that path, that road. So it's like, oh, that's a bad, nasty habit. Let's erase that and change it with something else and do that. And then yes, if all else fails, or to help out, there is some cannabis that can help rewrite that easily. So yes, very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me,
there's CBT and then there's CBD. I actually own a CBD. I own a CBD company.
Shut the front door, Chris.
Shut the front. Yeah, Singys.com. SINGYS.com.
So is this just CBT or
CBD.
Just CBD?
Yeah. We don't have the hard stuff.
Not the THC yet?
No, we don't have the THC.
Well, sign me up as soon as you got that on there, okay?
But holler when you do, Chris.
Holla.
Yeah.
You can come on here and promote it, okay?
You know what's
Wait, what was that website again?
It's Singys, SINGYS.com. What's amazing is that we're finding that there are substances that are medicinally really good for people. Like, there's obviously the abuse of, cannabis and other things. But when it's for the right person, for the right thing, I would much rather see someone take something that's natural, that's going to work with their body, than something that's synthetic that may cause other side effects. And so I'm born again Christian. I've been, walking with God since I was 18, 19 years old, living a life of conviction, if you will. And I could not deny when I was first introduced to CBD, and I had to whisper about it because I didn't want anyone to know that I was taking CBD. It's like, because I had some back pain.
It is the Lord's plant, brother.
The Lord put it here for us.
The Lord put it on this planet for us, okay?
Yeah, but as I started to learn the benefits and do the study on it, it was interesting because other people who were averse to it because of their own morality or whatever it was.
I'd like to think ignorance maybe sometimes more played into that.
Yeah, because caffeine, sugar.
Yeah. And so, once they saw that I was okay with it, then it was like, well, if Chris is okay with it, then it must not be like bad. So I was able to be a bridge for some people to get the relief that they needed instead of having to pop, a ton of Advil, which is, hurting your kidneys and everything else. They could take something like CBD, which, was taboo during that time when I was first introduced to it back in like 2016, 2017. And they could take something that actually would work with their body and that is from God. It's put in the earth. We have this endocannabinoid system in our body and receptors that the cannabinoids from the plant are designed to interact with in our system. So so it's cool. I'm glad that you've got something you've been able to source.
We're all about natural here.
We're looking for sponsors. If a THC or CBD company wants to sponsor us, well, I'm not saying no. I'm just letting you know, though.
Steve James would also like to let us know that the Lord put Krispy Kreme on the earth for us.
I think I'm more afraid of Krispy Kreme than I am.
I am too. But look, if you throw a little bit of my cannabis in that Krispy Kreme, you'd have me going there.
Right.
I promise you that.
Doesn't it make you hungrier?
So I already eat.
Yeah, there was a neighborhood friend that had a kind of a life-threatening illness, and one of the things she just didn't have appetite anymore. And this was probably 5-6 years ago, and the doctor had prescribed some of those pills like you've got, and it totally helped her appetite to come back, which, you know, she needed the protein, she needed the different things, you know, to be able to sustain life. So I've seen it work for some people in some really good ways.
It does amazing. Like
Yeah.
all of it is amazing work. Like I get that you can abuse anything, right?
Right.
But
that, you know, it goes back to alcohol. It goes back to the sugar. I mean, everything can
in moderation is
in moderation,
okay,
but everything can be abused. I mean, we abuse Sudafed. Hello, hello, Methodist.
Freaking Sudafed, right? Jeez. So I feel that. I feel you. You know, crazy story on that. My dad, he got, I won't say busted, but he was found having CBD in his blood.
THC.
No, CBD.
Oh.
He had CBD in his blood.
But the crazy thing, his dad was already on hospice at this point.
My dad was on hospice, and they wouldn't give him his pain medicine.
Oh.
And he was from the VA. How are you not going to give a man on hospice, rob him of his pain meds because he has CBD in his blood?
Yeah. And CBD, like how does CBD even show up?
And he didn't even know. He was like, "What? I haven't taken anything." I was like, "Dad, you know. Dad, come on now. I know you know what that is. Come on. Tell me. I'm not judging. Heck, I will help you get it somehow, Dad." But
oh, he froze up on us.
Froze up.
Yeah, he was telling a really good story. But anyway, so his dad couldn't get his pain meds, but then finally the hospice doctor took over and said, "Yeah, here's your pain meds. Don't worry about it." But I had told him, I'm like, "Look," because I think he was in pretty bad pain there for a little bit, and I said, "I have some THC cream that he can put on his wherever he was hurting," and but he was so worried about his test that we just never, you know, which is wild to me. But yeah, in Texas, we're still not legal, so there's that.
Yeah.
It's such a dichotomy there. I'm like, there's half of me that's like, I can't believe that, and the other half of me is like, well, duh.
I can believe it.
Yeah. You want me to take it a little bit further in this conversation as I'm studying some things?
Tell me. I'm intrigued.
I'm very fascinated with what they are finding that psilocybin can do for people. Now, psilocybin is a mushroom. It's considered, it's considered a psychedelic.
Yes.
You know,
where do I sign?
But there are medicines and there are things that have been taken from the people, obviously because of, you know, the big organizations out there that want people to be dependent upon their products, and there are things that have become demonized and narratives associated with them that actually are not true. And it's interesting.
You mean with psilocybin specifically?
Psilocybin, I mean,
ketamine. Remember that one?
Ketamine, Special K.
Yeah. Ketamine. Yeah, I actually last year when I was going through my difficult time, I actually went to a therapy place and had ketamine and did, you know, ketamine journeys. I mean, unbelievable.
There's a doctor we brought on the show who was doing research into it and found that it was helping neuropathy patients by regrowing the nerves that they had lost.
Right.
Which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things, but psilocybin is something that it's only legal in a few places in the country.
Illinois, one of them?
I don't believe so. I think it's like Washington State, maybe Oregon, like Oakland, California, somewhere else. It's not a whole other places at this point, but there's they're like aren't side effects because they have microdosing protocols. So you're taking a very small amount that is helping to, you know, repair, regrow, break, you know, thought patterns and cycles, you know, from an electrical standpoint or what's happening neurologically helps to break some of those things and help you to regrow, you know, new neural pathways. So there's some really great science and studies. In fact, there was a study done in Europe and they did, group A and group B. One did microdosing of psilocybin, the other group stayed on their antidepressants. And the improvement in group A that was on psilocybin was, I think the improvement was so great that they had to tone it down because it would have just, riveted the whole industry of antidepressants and everything like that. And I'm not saying antidepressants are bad, but
no, we're not saying that. We're saying the big pharma.
Yeah. And when you can get back to something that's more natural, that actually can work with your body to repair and heal itself, that's where we want to be. But,
right.
I'm continuing my studies and learning about some of these things and trying to be able to, be better equipped and prepared so that if and when they allow the people to have access, to it, you can responsibly, be able to recommend it or just suggest it to someone. So
right.
Yeah, this thing says it really fires off those serotonin receptors, and y'all, that just means the feel good.
Which one is this one? The K or the?
No, the psilocybin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's psilocybin. It's a dephosphorylated. It dephosphorylates in the body into psilocin, and that fires off your serotonin receptors, which are the feel good things in your body. And so it's like, yeah, you're gonna really feel good after this stuff.
Yeah, which is all anything, like Lexapro or Zoloft or any of those medicines. They're trying to
be over here.
They're trying to boost your serotonin levels. I mean, that's what the goal is. But
with serious side effects.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's for serious people, like, you know what I mean, like if you're if you're struggling with clinical depression, this would it's just like the THC does for folks. It helps people who don't have an appetite to gain that appetite, forces it,
And if you can't sleep, it helps you to sleep at night.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, you're right, it does. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, man, I feel like I forget that part, but that's the reason. There's a reason why.
Yeah.
Because you don't like to sleep.
Like go right back, because I go right to sleep.
And when you think about it, particularly people that deal with anxiety, one of the worst things for someone dealing with anxiety is a poor night's sleep, because the next day is even harder. But if you can get a good night's sleep, I can't explain exactly what's happening in the body, but we know that a good night's sleep is good for you. But even more so, if you're dealing with something like anxiety, a bad night's sleep, man, just makes that next day worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Agree wholeheartedly.
Like you barely get a reprieve from those, feelings, and your sleep is one of those where you do get it. And so, yeah, man, I feel bad. Man, you are just full of it, Chris. Not it. Full of good. Yeah. Full of good.
You're full of good stuff. So what's next for you? So you're a full-on coach, you're consultant, and are you specific to certain people? Do you have what do you do? Like, is it open for the public, or what exactly?
Yeah, I just kind of try to help, anyone that comes across my path, if I can. I had to tone it down a little bit. I was part of this organization called Glue, and it's GLOO. And it's all app based, where someone can text. They can text a number if they, have depression or anxiety, or they've got an issue going on, and then it routes it to someone who lives in their area. And so you start a text conversation, and you just try to listen to that person, hear what they're going through. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it may lead to a phone call, or if it really develops, and it may lead to actually getting together, since you live in the same area. Mm-hmm. But I've had some very humbling situations, just even through that technology. And I had a young girl that was having very dark thoughts, and she was ashamed. And I asked her, I said, what kind of thoughts are you having? And she said, will I be in trouble if I say this? And I said, absolutely not. And she's like, taking my life. And so there I am, understanding what my role is and my limitations. And so the first thing I want to do is try to direct her to, suicide hotline where people are trained in dealing specifically with that. But she was unwilling to call, so I did the best that I could just to, keep the dialogue going and conversation with her. And I think that she made it through that okay, at least during that time. But that was something that I was doing, and these are people that I do not know. Where I'll go this weekend, there'll be people that I do not know, but I'm partnering with this organization to just serve in that way. So, yeah, if someone's really, if they just need somebody to maybe talk to or whatever, I'm always open to that. I can share my information, whether it's they want to reach out to me by email or, just what, and then we can figure out a time to talk. But I just, I don't want to see, I know how bad it is to suffer. And I just, if there is anything that I can do to help someone, that's what I'm on the earth for. So yeah, I want to be able to do that. But as far as like as a business, I haven't really, gone that route. It's kind of been more of, just help people. I haven't set up anything official like a website and actual coaching business. Maybe that's in the future. I don't know. But as of right now, it's just really organic. That I'm doing what I'm doing. So,
yeah. Chris, it's been an honest pleasure hearing from you. Like your story is so.
I know you have a great story.
Yeah, and I've spoken with you a few times, and I really never would have, not in a bad way, you know what I mean, but just was not prepared to hear this tonight. Like, man, you're very inspirational. Let me put it that way.
Thank you.
Very inspirational. I hope that there have been many people who've been able to hear your story or see your life, and many more to come to do that also, because it's worth listening to. It's worth being inspired by. It's worth being moved by, man.
Yeah, we're all connected. That's something that we can realize more and more, how connected we are and how interdependent we are and we should be with one another. We see each other differently, and see that, hey, I need you, you need me. If you're hurting, then I should be hurting, in the sense of I want to bear that burden with you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help you through that. And so I've always taken the approach. I find people fascinating. I don't care who you are, what you do, where you're at. I can learn something from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to interview people, just, in terms of just asking them questions. I want to hear your story, man. Tell me your story, because everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, just because you play professional sports or whatever, people might find your story interesting, exciting, but I don't think, to me, I think everybody's got a great story. It's unique, and their experiences that they've had are experiences that maybe I can relate to. Maybe they might be new to me, but I just love that. And so I think there's so much value in each and every human being.
I agree. And that's kind of why we have enjoyed this show so much, is we've met, I mean, I can't tell, countless people that make a difference in people's lives. And we're just like, what are we doing? What are we doing with our lives? But no, I agree. Everybody does have a story. And I agree with you saying that we should help each other. I feel like that's one of the purposes that God, gave us each other, so that we could help each other. But what do? We fight with each other on the internet. It's just craziness. But man, that's super amazing.
Yeah. And the other thing that I do, we were talking about just the different career stuff. Jaime and I have talked about, but I have the honor and privilege to work for Sony. And so I do voiceover work for Sony for a video game called MLB The Show.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's kind of a cool thing that I get to do, and I get to work with a buddy of mine that I worked with at ESPN for 10 years. We worked together doing their games, and so we worked together on this video game. So it's kind of a cool thing. And the kids out there, once they realize, then it's like the old guy becomes kind of cool again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you're the
yeah.
guy in the video game. So yeah,
it's a
so
big
that's
shot game too. It's not a no little cheat game kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is too cool. And
yeah,
how long have you been doing that?
I think I'm into my 4th year. Yeah,
Okay.
4th year doing that. I've got a contract that runs for several years, so I'm thankful to have that. And, yeah, so I'm thankful to have that, and it's a good stream of income, and it's a great opportunity and all that stuff. So yeah, so it's good. So there's
So you're a
things that are
cool
going,
dad, Chris.
you know, my kids don't really. It's so funny when I think when you're a kid and your dad like does stuff, you know, that people know about, like you don't really know that your dad or your mom like does stuff. You know, you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just mom, or oh, that's just dad. You know, like, oh, whatever. Why are these people asking for my dad's autograph? You know, why are they asking for my? It's like it's just dad. He's like nobody. Like, you know, not like nobody, but you know, it's just he's just
Right.
regular. He's just dad. And so that's what's interesting. I think my kids, as they've gotten older, they sort of realize a little bit more that they're people that pay attention to dad. When they're younger, they didn't really think about it, but now it's like, hey, wait a minute. My daughter will call me and say, "Dad, do you do this, or were you on this?" And I said, "Oh yeah." It's like, oh, okay, because the kid at school came up to me today and asked me, you know, she's in college, and there's a kid on the baseball team came up and asked me if my dad was Chris Singleton and this, that, another, and blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because there are things that I've done that my kids don't even realize that I've done until somebody else tells them.
Right.
So that's how it goes.
Because dad doesn't share his glory day stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's like your kids. I'm sure like there's stuff that your kids have no idea. Like, you know, I mean, how many people as a kid actually like knew what their parents did for a living? Like, I mean, there's somewhere like, yeah, it was obvious, but then there's some like, I have no idea what my dad does. I know he pays the bills and he buys his stuff and
basically, yeah.
Everything else, I don't really know.
I think that's how my kids are with my with us. I think that's how my kids are with us. But we knew what we did.
I don't think my kids know anything of what I do for work, but they know everything I do outside of work for extracurricular. They know about my public speaking. They know about my shows. They know about my comic books. They know about everything else. But for work, they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, just hit keys on a keyboard. That's all.
Yeah. That's all. And you have had a long day, my friend, with the Peggy Nolan show earlier on the Cyber Gangsters channel.
Yes,
doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You and Janae. Janae's so cute. She's like, just sits there and just supports you, and you guys do a great job. Yeah.
I feel like I am surrounded on both times with just fabulous people. So you're no exception. Sandy isn't either, and
Jamie knows how to pick them sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Hush, Sandy.
Hey, PJ.
Sandy, the tattoo. Tell me the story about the tattoo.
Okay, so this is.
You got another tattoo?
This is my newest one. Yes.
Okay. We haven't even seen that.
No, you haven't.
Is that your photo?
You're not very observant. No, it's not.
Well, I saw it earlier, but I thought it was just smudge.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks that. So this is my favorite things: the mountains, and then if you do it this way, it's the ocean and the waves and stuff.
Oh, cool!
And then funny, when I picked out this design, the tattoo artist, she's like, "Sandy, there's a man in a tent. Do you want that?" I was like, "Oh shoot, I thought it was a mountain." I'm like, "Just throw it in there," even though I've never been camping before. So now it's just a funny story.
That's cool.
Nice. So in the chat, everyone, you'll see I put up a link for YouTube. There's a really interesting game. It's exclusive to PlayStation. It's called MLB The Show 22. There's a link in there if you want to go give it a watch. It's a little
cool
little teaser there for someone here. I wonder who. Oh, my other comment disappeared.
That says Carrie is my favorite.
That says
Nice job, Carrie. There you
go. So here's what we like to do towards the end, Chris, is we like to give our guests an opportunity to kind of address everyone. So like if you have a favorite place you think everyone should visit, if it's a message for world peace, basically anything that you want to share with the audience, unfiltered and just kind of straight from the heart. Not like you haven't shared everything already. That's been just fantastic. But we want to give you this opportunity. Okay.
Sure, thanks.
So give me one second to do. There you go.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the time hanging out with us. This has been great. I enjoyed talking with Sandy and Jaime, and hopefully something that was shared tonight resonates, with you. I think one of the important things that came across was just the issue of mental health, and there are people out there that are hurting. You might be one of them. I just want to encourage you and let you know that everything's going to be okay. You have great value. You have great worth. You're not an accident. Things aren't just going to be tough for the rest of your life. You might be going through a tough time right now, but the good thing about it is that you're going through it and you're not just stuck in it. And the way that you go through it is just having the courage each and every day to get up and believe that today will be better than yesterday. And so I encourage you to find someone, if you haven't already, that you can talk to. Understand that you're not alone. You're not the only one that may be dealing with something that's causing some issues in your emotional and mental stability. And as you realize that, just know that there are a lot more out there that identify and relate to you than those that don't. And so whether it's somebody getting through the show, if you want to get in touch with me through Jaime or Sandy, please send a note to them or whatever. If you want to post a note in the chat, somehow we can get in contact with you and just support you and encourage you. But know that you're special. Be good to yourself. So many times we're hard on ourselves. We have such a high standard and we raise the bar and our expectations, and we beat ourselves up. And sometimes we're our biggest enemy, and we want to change that. We want to be able to love yourself because, I believe, as the Bible says, to love your neighbor as yourself, you first have to be able to love yourself and appreciate who God has created you to be and the special talents and unique abilities and everything that you possess are specific to you. And so you can embrace that and you can begin to love yourself. I don't care what you look like. I don't care, what you don't look like. Just understand that your value is great. You are worth dying for. And so take care of yourself, be good to yourself. And then through that, you can be able to be good to other people in a healthy way. So thanks.
Man, that was so good. That was so good, Chris. Thank you so much for that message. And man, I just think of how your life has been, and kudos to your mama for being a hardworking single woman and raising an amazing human being. Because I just met you, but man, I love you.
Me too. Thank you,
great.
Sandy. Yeah,
that's great.
Make sure you let us know when the book comes out, Chris. Okay, so we can all buy it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. We appreciate your time very, very much.
And we'll catch you on the flip side. Okay.
Okay.
Take care. Good night.
Take care. Good night. Man.
So you did great. He was amazing. I completely had forgotten that you had said someone was coming on. So, I came into this blind and wow. Seriously, I want to hug him. He's one of those people that you want to hug because he was.
I don't want to hug him. I want him to hug me, actually.
Right.
Like, I feel like curling in a little ball, Sandy, and just want to cry next to him because it just resonates, man.
No,
It just, and
absolutely.
I was sitting there, and I'll have to explain to him later, but I'm like trying hard to like.
No, I could feel it. I could feel you're like everything that he was saying, the shoe was fitting. No, I mean, I could
Yeah.
tell you were just in your feelings. So, I
Trying
mean,
not to. I don't
I
like
know
to
you were
take away. I
trying.
was trying hard, Sandy. I was trying hard. But I
Anita
was
said
like,
he was amazing and that ending was awesome. It totally is. I mean, he spoke to us like he was just speaking individually to us.
mhm.
And I mean, I don't know.
I'm
Like I
glad
said, what
there
an
are human
incredible human
beings like
being.
him out there, right?
I
Because the
wish the
world,
world had more of him,
yes,
honestly, because
yeah,
that's what we need. And he's so right. When he says, we were put on this earth for each other. And the thing about it is like we're here for our friends, totally here for our friends, but we don't reach beyond our friends.
it's hard. I was talking to my daughter recently, Sandy, and she was
Mhm.
telling me something about how that she has had friendships in the past where she's like, and she and I have talked about this throughout the years, and she's like, Dad, I feel like I give and give, and then they don't, like they'll never call and ask me, or they'll never check on me, or if I can say something in a text message and no one ever asks to look deeper into it and and ask me what I'm thinking or whatever. And she's like, but if they say the slightest thing, I'm always on top of it and telling them, I hear you, bro. I'm here, whatever you
Yeah.
need, and I'm like, baby girl. I was like,
The thing about it is, it just in me thinking out loud, I feel like maybe parents aren't teaching their kids to listen because they're not listening to their kids. So kids don't know that. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to
maybe,
say?
maybe,
Like kids are less empathetic these days.
yeah.
They lack that empathy, sympathy.
Or maybe they just don't know how to vocalize it. Like maybe they have that, but they don't know what to do with it next. And so it doesn't come out. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know.
Like for her, that's one thing, and
And tell
she's,
her not to change because I feel like that jades you. Like,
you're right. You're right. But at the same
because,
time, like I hear the pain and
yeah,
I'm with her there. I'd be like, baby, I feel you. Because I feel the same way. I'm like, I can call people all the time.
yeah, you call
Do
us all the
I ever
time.
feel like anyone ever calls me? And I'm like,
I
and then
try
there are
to
those,
call you because I don't call people.
and
Like, I'm not a big caller.
I get that, and
And
I'm
Kate
not.
and Alex will FaceTime me, and I'm like, "Good God, quit FaceTiming me." He FaceTimed me today, and I'm like, "Bro, why don't you just text like normal people?" Eric's like, "It's this generation; they just want to FaceTime." I'm like, "Kid, quit."
Oh, and they want to FaceTime anywhere, right?
Oh yeah,
Anywhere.
oh
Jeez,
yeah.
like, can we not do this right now?
Alex will be anywhere,
Yeah, yeah.
and then he's like, he'll FaceTime me, and I'm like, "Alex, I'm like asleep. Alex, I'm in bed. I don't even have a face on, and you're trying to message me." He's like, "Mama," and I'm like, "Boy, what?" Wait, you have to open your gift.
Oh yes.
So Joe and I got Jamie a very early birthday
Very
gift.
early. My
Like
birthday is in about a month.
I was gonna say
Actually,
we're like a month ahead of it, but
yeah.
I'd rather be a month ahead than a month behind because if a month behind, you don't get shit if it's a
And
month behind.
so let's see. Go ahead and just go ahead.
So, what? Go ahead. What? Oh,
Open it.
I wanted to tell you, I had lunch with my boys today, and I guess I don't realize the differences in with my boys. So Alex came from a broken home. His dad and I separated,
Mhm.
and he has a lot of friends that are from broken homes, right?
Okay. Okay.
And so then on the other hand, I have Cade, who has had the same parents his whole life,
Mhm.
Doesn't lack love from a parent, doesn't have to go,
Mhm.
shift during the summer. So he doesn't have to understand or comprehend the the differences, it like with Alex having to share summers and having, all sorts of siblings lying around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, today we had lunch together, and I was just kind of reflecting on that because I'd never actually reflected on the dynamics, even though I raised my boys.
Yeah.
I never really put two and two together on
like
how different
the disparity
their lives,
in their livelihoods.
Yeah.
Because they're both have been under you, but not 100%.
Right. Yeah. It's so crazy.
It is.
It just kind of blows my mind.
I think the same thing for my kids, right? I think I look at their lives, and there are times where I don't know if uber critical's the right thing, but I look at them and I think, man, like I had none of this. Like, I didn't know when we were going to have the refrigerator stocked with food. I didn't know when we were going to have electricity sometimes. I didn't know if we were going to be living in the same house by the end of the school year or summer.
Right.
I didn't, you know what I mean? And
so you have provided like security, routine, consistency. You've provided what you didn't
extra
have.
Yeah. It was like what Chris said earlier. He was like, sometimes we don't get through life on ourselves. Either people help us through life, or they even help us by us knowing what not to do, right? And I think we all can, that rings out to us all. We all feel that there have been people, right? And I feel like sometimes some of us have more, it tilts a little bit more heavy one way or the other sometimes, right? Like I can definitely say I did have a lot of love for Mom, and your exact same story. I'm Alex. I'm adult Alex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Adult Alex. But the love that I had for my father as a young man in those formative years, that wasn't love. My father was evil to me. My father beat the living daylights out of me. And I know we joke about getting whooped and all that.
No, some of us literally got beat. No, that's another discussion that we had. But yeah.
So yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
No, it's fine. And that's what I was telling them now. I said, I could be a miserable cow. I could. But I choose to be positive.
Not miserable.
Not miserable. Because I want to be happy, and I want my kids to have a happy mom, and to not be like, here comes negative mom again, talking about how bad her childhood was. I don't want that.
Or even just the regular problem, right? Like how many times, bless Mom and for everything, but how many times did I hear about not having money and the bills and all that stuff? And that's again one of the things I've never had to do for my kids. My kids have never had to hear we don't have the money for that. They may have heard, no, I'm not buying that for you. You don't need that. You know what I mean?
A quick story. I'm sure I've told it. We would always tell the boys, "Oh, we're broke. We can't afford it." Just so they could quit asking for shit, because they always were asking for something.
Oh, that messed them up for a little bit afterwards.
Well, it did, because we were at Costco and our bill was like $150, and Cade was like, "Just how are y'all gonna afford that? You're broke." Like, you don't have $150. So after that, we learned our lesson not to tell our kids that we were broke, because that would come up at the most inopportune times.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody in the Costco warehouse heard that conversation.
Oh my God. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, my kids will come in and they'll be like, no, I need some new shoes. But no, it's okay, Dad. Never mind. And I'm like, well, if you just need shoes, tell me what, there's a hole in them. Okay, well then, we're going to get you some new shoes. And they're like, no, it's okay. I can handle these. I'm like, what? And it makes me think back to my childhood when I did have to deal with that.
Yeah. When you did have to be like, no, I can't.
Yeah. But I'm like, why? And she's like, one of them would be like, oh, because we're poor. And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, because, we live paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, what?
Where did you hear that? You're like, we live direct deposit to direct deposit.
And, it's because of what you said. I'll say and do things because I'm just like, stop. No, we ain't got money growing on trees. You can't have everything. You know what I mean? And so it becomes that. And then, like you, I learned the lesson too. And I was like, okay, no joking and no truth, So now we're just like, we'll get you what you need. Oh, and we always have. And I'm like, but the things you want, you may not get. So don't be surprised on these.
Things. Totally different. I made that very clear. Wants and needs. You need to learn that. And they have. Yeah. Okay, open your gift.
All right, it's open. Let's see.
Drum roll. You already know.
I think I
from the
know.
moment,
I
from the
think I
moment
know.
you
Let me just
saw
show
it.
this box real quick so everyone.
What?
Oh, why did it do
What
that?
is that?
And it's small, so.
So,
Shut
do you love it? Show everybody quickly.
Shut the front door.
Do you love it?
Oh my God. Can you see that?
No, you need better light.
You can't see that? Look.
It's really hard to
focus.
see.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I love it. I think it's beautiful.
What the heck, Sandy? I'm trying to figure out which finger to put it on.
Yeah, I didn't know if it would like replace your wedding band. It was so good.
This is so cool, Sandy.
And Joe,
And Joe.
do you love it? Let's see.
Yes. Can you?
Yay! Does it fit you?
Yeah, it fits.
Okay,
So
good.
it's weird. It's like it's a silicone ring, which
Yeah.
I'm fine with.
But it looks very metal.
But it did. Can you see it now?
You
It's
have to take a
hard.
picture and post
I'll
it.
take it. Yeah. Aww. Thank you.
Well, happy early birthday. I hope you love it so much.
I love it. I'm going to take a picture after we're done so you can see it. But you guys, this is awesome. Actually, it looks dope because it's blue and red and it's that dark blue.
And it's that shine. It's like a shiny. It looks really pretty in the picture.
It's so hard to believe that it's plastic or not silicone. It's hard to believe that it's not metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
You guys are fantastic.
I know we are. I can't help it. I know what we are, you silly rabbit.
You will find this on me now on all of our episodes. Watch. So when you see it, just know that's what it is. Thank you so much, Sandy.
You're very welcome.
I can't wait to show the kids. So yeah, you know what? We never addressed why Joe wasn't here tonight, guys. You might have missed Joe, right? Or maybe not. I don't know.
Did y'all know we had a third person?
Yeah. This is not usually run by Sandy and I only, okay? Believe it or not. I know.
It usually is because he only gives 2%.
He only 2%. Everything else has to come from us.
Yeah.
But I think he had a photo shoot tonight. And then
I hadn't spoken to him, so I have no idea.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it was a photo shoot, and then he had to get home and he had to spend family time with folks. He was going to try to come on, but if he could, you know how it goes. So it happens. No worries, no biggie. But next week, Sandy, you are not going to be here, right?
I won't be here, no.
Okay. So then it'll just be Joe and I, and we'll get to geek out. And I'll get to talk about some of the comic books I got, and I didn't even get to speak about. But
oh, look, Sean said Joe now.
Joe now.
Richie Rich.
Do you see that? Yeah.
Did you ever watch the movie?
With
was it Macaulay Culkin?
Kid? Yes.
I really liked that movie growing up.
I did too. The vault had all their baby pictures and everything.
Yeah, and they thought it was for treasures.
And that was their treasure. Was all the family photos.
Yeah. That was a good movie.
Yeah. So then you remember this one, right? You remember
what is it?
Ren and Stimpy?
I have no idea what that is.
You never saw Ren and Stimpy?
No, never saw it.
All right, we'll check this one out. What do you think?
Oh, I love it.
Isn't that cool? I like it too.
Oh, Kate and I watched the 4D of the original Superman. Remember you had sent us a link.
4K.
4K, yeah.
Was it good? Did it look as good?
We honest, Cade. I don't know if he's got his earphones on. Probably has his earbuds on.
I heard someone say, "Hey."
No, that was Eric. I don't know that I felt like I could tell a difference, honestly.
So, okay, I told this to Joe, Sandy. I don't know if I've told you this or if you forgot or anything. Superman 2 was a phenomenal movie. I loved it, right? The prisoners from Krypton, they come in and they swap the powers at the end.
Right.
Okay. Did you know that there is not a director's cut, but it's called the Richard Donner cut? Sandy,
somebody sent a picture of that to Joe.
There is such a thing called the Richard Donner cut. Okay.
I want to say that Cade might have mentioned that, but go ahead.
You have to watch it, Sandy. So when they were doing the original Superman, Richard Donner was the director of part 1. He ended up wanting to do 2 movies. He and the production company, the WB or whatever, they just went they were bad. They went from being, cordial at the beginning and everything to by the end, they would hated each other. And so he wanted to direct Superman 1, and he started shooting for Superman 2 before Superman 1 was done.
Mm-hmm.
So he got through a large portion of it. The studio came in. They were like, "Are you not done with this movie yet?" And he was like, "I'm making 2 movies." And they're like, "What? We didn't ask you to do that." And so then they went ahead. They went ahead and released part 1, but part 2, he got fired on.
Huh.
And then they brought in the new director who came and gave us the movie we have. But get this, there was 80% of Richard Donner's original Superman 2 movie that was there. They
80%.
80%. So what they did was they came back in the early 2000s or late 2000s. They came back. They picked it all up off the floor and they were like, okay. They put it in a movie. They took scenes from the original, what we think is the original Superman 2,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
to fill in the missing 20%. And Sandy, it's like watching a whole new movie.
Really?
Unlike anything. And it is so good. So
really,
it's so funny because it's exactly like how they did the whole Justice League and Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut. It's a completely different movie. That's how Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut is.
I just started watching that one with not Henry Cavill, where he has that son.
Oh, Brandon Routh.
I don't know.
Anyway, okay, yeah.
All of them are not Henry Cavill.
Are not. But you've got to watch the Richard Donner cut. It is literally not like the original one. And you're going to be like, what the flip?
Okay. But I'm sure Kate has told me about it.
Yes. So make sure to give it a watch and tell me what you think. And it's fantastic. So
cool.
Anyway, all right, everyone. Well, thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank y'all so much.
Thanks, Chris, for coming on tonight and sharing your fantastic
life story. Thank you for being a wonderful human being.
Yes.
Seriously.
And Sandy, we'll be wishing you well travels or whatever it is you're doing next week. And
thank you.
We'll be waiting for you to come back the following week. So be safe. And everyone, we love you. And I can't remember our call out, but just know that we
live, laugh, and toast your bath.
You filthy animal.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.